Okay.
Recording in progress, another episode of the Square and Compass podcast, talking to Right Worship Brother Richard Kaufman. It is Right Worship, right? Not very?
I am, yes, I am right worshipful.
Perfect. I will check that. I am talking to Right Worship Brother about something I think it's wonderful. I've posted about it on my social media a couple times, and I think everybody involved in it, my guest tonight, Grand Lodge, deserves a ton of credit because it really is a wonderful system, and I think it's long overdue. It's great to have it. That's the Grand Lodge Technological Project, and more specifically, at least from my perspective as a lodge secretary, the lodge management system on the back end, which uh, I've been very, very impressed with. So let's start with kind of your role, your involvement with this project, how long you've been involved with it, and what you're currently doing to help and assist secretaries such as myself with this process.
Thank you, Cameron. It's great to be with you and all the listeners and viewers that you have. I have been involved, it's actually about 30 months from the start of this project, trying to go through the selection process for the right vendor. And now that we're seeing some of the results and the onboarding, that investment in time has certainly paid off in terms of finding the right product and the right vendor to support us. The actual configuration is just been over a year. And now we're at the process of onboarding all the lodges. We're doing it now because of the semi-annual requirements of the Constitution. And I have a team of early adopters who are primarily lodge secretaries who have been vetting the system, testing the system. They've been an amazing group of 7 EAs. EAs is early adopters, by the way. And then our group of district support team, about 37 of our 42 districts have a volunteer in their districts who will come alongside the lodge secretaries as they perform this last paper semi-annual return, even though it's an electronic spreadsheet. That will become a thing of the past. So I've been steering this project for 30 months as the team lead on the project team. And phase 1 will finish January 8th. And then we will roll out the phase 2 training. And that's really what you referred to in terms of the lodge management. We're going to bring all the secretaries back in at their convenience in the new year and say, this is how you update a member's status. This is how you email your members from the system. This is how you apply for dispensation. This is how you do your return of officers now, right in the system. I made a comment to the board last night that all of that paper, truly paper, that flows into the office is about to come to an end. And I think it's very exciting. And we've had great support and wonderful support and comments from the secretaries across the entire jurisdiction.
And I think those comments are well deserved. I wonder what your experience has been. I worked, I was a probation officer for many years, and we always had to do training. And one thing somebody told me early on in my career when it came to training is however somebody learned to do it is how they're going to do it forever. So because you'd have a probation officer who had been in, say, been doing the job for 30 or 40 years, and that's how they're going to do it forever, no matter what you do with the training. For me, I'm a relatively new secretary. I actually became a secretary just before the pandemic in December of 2019, before the lockdowns, and so that was interesting in of itself. But my time as secretary is relatively new, so I'm thinking I haven't I've been excited about this, and I'm excited even the first time I heard about it to try this out. What's your experience been like with some of perhaps the older secretaries, the ones who've been in the chair for decades or longer? How are they adapting to this new system and the new process?
Well, let's deal with, so if you want to know, the ones that aren't computer at all, they have already engaged another member in the lodge as an assistant secretary. So we're working with those lodges as a team, and we appreciate the experience and knowledge of an experienced secretary and having, if you will, an apprentice working alongside them as assistant. So those are very positive experiences. There is the group that
Sorry to interrupt.
struggle with technology, but they're happy to see it coming into play. They can see how much easier their job is going to be in the new year, less paperwork, more just updating the system and making things work. So they're willing to learn. They have been bearing with us if they've had any password problems or they lock themselves out of the account. They send us an email, and we, as quickly as we can, respond, reopen the account, assist them with passwords. They are actually fully engaged. And it's very, very nice to see. So you've got, and then we've got the group that's forging ahead and playing in the system and doing all their own updates. And they're a smaller group, but that's wonderful to see as well. There has been absolutely no negative pushback from any lodge. They recognize the value. And as you said, I think these are your words, it's about time Grand Lodge move forward in this, leveling the playing field of technology for all of our lodges.
It is 100% about time that Grand Lodge did this, so I think it's wonderful. And you brought up a really good point, which is something I've experienced with when it came to the Grand Lodge communication registration process last year, this year's communication. You would register virtually, you'd vote virtually.
Mhm.
And as a younger Mason, define that how you will, right? I would bring my computer with me to coffee club and to some of these social gatherings, and I just sent out a message saying if any brothers want to sign up to register for Grand Lodge to vote, I'll have my computer. I can show you how to do it. It's a very simple process. There's nothing wrong with it doesn't even have to be an official. It's great if it is an assistant secretary, but for anybody, any brother who is computer literate, taking the time to meet with the secretary, even meet with just your brothers and talk about some of these things and show them how to work the system. I think it's great. And I'm hoping that more younger Masons will take the time to do that and work with their secretaries, work with their members, whether it's as an official office or not, because that's a really good way to build some of those bonds of brotherly love, is assisting with this stuff.
Well, and I agree with you that any brother who's comfortable with the technology can and should be reaching out to the brothers that just need to be shown how. And many of them want to do it. They just get frustrated or just don't quite know what buttons to push when. And if you have that knowledge and experience, by all means, just offer a helping hand. And in many times it'll be so welcomed. We really believe that offering online voting is a benefit to our jurisdiction. I think that as we engage more with our members and help them realize that we're all in this together, Grand Lodge and every one of our lodges and every one of our members, we will get more and more people engaging with us through something like online voting and the other virtual experiences we can offer, whether it's our education committee who offers their monthly education series or virtual town halls. I think there is something about being in physical presence with people, but time and distance sometimes make a virtual experience very positive.
I agree. One of my biggest disappointments with Freemasonry as a whole, this isn't specific to any one jurisdiction. Over the last few months, one of my biggest disappointments has been the reduction in the virtual presence that Freemasonry had. And I understand, during the pandemic, when I would have an interview, one of the questions that I would often ask my guests would be, when we return to in-person meetings and as COVID restrictions reduce, do you believe that the virtual presence that we're seeing will continue? And the answer was always yes. Virtual is here to stay. But it seems that as in-person meetings have resumed, the enthusiasm for virtual presence has been reducing in the craft. And I think, just like you said, there are so many benefits to having a virtual presence in Freemasonry. The most obvious one from a lodge perspective is, how do you maintain contact with brothers who moved away but have maintained their dues? How do you vote in Grand Lodge if you're, say, living in Kenora? It's not very easy to get to Toronto. How do you engage with visitors? And I think this might have been the smartest thing Grand Lodge has ever done, at least since I've been a Mason, is when they brought out the go-to meetings, making them not tiled, I think was genius, because that means you can invite guest speakers, you can invite candidates and applicants. I think it's unfortunate that jurisdictions have seemed to abandon, in a lot of cases, the virtual space as COVID restrictions reduce. And I think credit to Grand Lodge for still pushing these things, whether it's the education, the town halls, the virtual education for this program, or this lodge management system. I think it's a real credit to Grand Lodge that it's not letting the virtual presence kind of disappear, because there's still a very big place for it.
Yeah. And I agree with you, and I think we're going to see it continue long into the future. The monthly virtual education. We are definitely will be pursuing virtual candidates meetings for the upcoming elections in Grand Lodge. Voting virtual is continuing. I know locally, I attended one meeting, GP style meeting, where it was a hybrid approach, where the Zoom was on in the meeting room. People were welcome to join, and many some of the participants were in person. I do believe personally that's an excellent model, and as we grow into this, I would hope that we would be open to education and GP meetings and so on. We can certainly do things to reduce public access for, say, a GP meeting by having a specific meeting room. And I think virtual is here to stay. It's certainly here to stay in other industries. I'm familiar with the funeral industry. Live streaming didn't exist much pre-COVID. It was all live streamed, and it continues to be an option for grieving families. So I think we need to, as a Grand Lodge, continue to maintain that option.
I want to talk to you now about your work presently, because I've called you several times with questions. You've always answered. I know you're getting a lot of other calls. Now the role, as you discussed earlier, has kind of switched from creating the system, implementing the system, to now it's working out the bugs, working with the secretaries, some of them like me who have, are playing around with everything, perhaps earlier than we should have, some who are focusing on what they're supposed to focus on. How much work has that been, and what type of supports are either you personally or Grand Lodge offering as this process is rolled out?
Yeah, so this is the big push, the 477 lodges coming on board. That's why we have offered sessions from I believe it was the 7th of December through the 20th. We're running trainings 3 times a day. That most of that training is being handled by my team. Tom Peddle, Mike Redmond, Mike Locke, and several others are filling in the gaps. I do a couple myself. I have to do the one tonight myself. All the other brethren are busy. And then it flows to the district reps. As I said, about 37 of the 42 districts provided us with a local person who we trained ahead of time to be a support to the secretaries. We want the lodges to do this successfully. That's my own wish, that this is a success for each and every lodge. And we're all doing everything we can. I know one of my support was, basically one-on-one with a guy until they sorted out the problem. And we're going to continue to do that moving forward. There is online help, of course. As we get a little more sophisticated and get over this hump, there will be videos to walk you through certain things that you don't do regularly. But we're going the extra mile for the lodges right now. Create those spreadsheets. We're doing, I'm taking calls. All our team are taking calls, texts, emails, and we're responding as quickly as we can. My support, of course, is the vendor that is implementing the system with us, and I can't speak highly enough about them. They too have joined in on our weekend trainings. I couldn't be more happy about the support that we as an organization have received from our vendor. It's been wonderful. But I have to put on the other side of the scale, the support of the lodges is also wonderful. And some of the lodges, they're taking this opportunity to, can I just use the word, clean up their books? We've observed getting people off the roll from as late as 2010, 2012. They've been sitting on the roll of a lodge. Now they're getting cleaned up and taken off. So off the roll, off the being charged the per capita. So there's so many positive, and the little notes that I get from secretaries, thanks so much, just mean a whole lot to me, and it's the fuel to the fire to keep us going to the finish line, January the 8th.
And I can speak for that myself. As secretary, you helped me clean up some stuff that needed to be cleaned up and fix some things. And I think that's really the benefit of this system. There's a lot of benefits to this system, but we're talking right now specifically about the benefits as it relates to semi-annuals, membership. It's such a more streamlined process than sending in paper, sending it back, right? Things get lost in the mail. And this is one of those things where it just feels like it's so much easier to be able to sort everything out at one back end. I'm wondering, I know other Grand Lodges have been quicker to implement something like this. Others have been slower. There are some that don't have it at all yet, but I know some that have had it for a little while. Washington State, I believe California. When you were first implementing this system, 30 months ago, say, when it was started, were you looking at other jurisdictions and what they had done and taking the lead from them? And what did you find in that process?
So we had members on the team, like our Grand Secretary, who was familiar and had looked at the California system. New York has a system. We even looked at being onboarded to those systems. The biggest drawback we saw with those systems is that they were a member management system, but they weren't a lodge management system. So the differentiation was they weren't processing dispensations through their system. They weren't processing the clearances and automating the clearances through their system. They didn't necessarily have an automated way to update the officer list for the lodge. So those were things that were on our list that we really thought a system should deliver to be fully comprehensive member-lodge management system. Also empowering the lodges with email and invoicing functionality, which our system will and will be rolled out in the January training. The other systems had varying degrees or simply didn't exist in them. So overall, we had a broader vision than what some of the other our southern partners have implemented. We have a broader vision of what a true lodge and member management system should be. And we're on a platform that we can grow. We'll do events management. There's a whole calendar function in there, managing your meetings. It's fully integrated with the website, which, by the way, will begin to be populated in the next couple of weeks as we transition off of grandlodge.on.ca to our new brand called OntarioMasons.ca, which we should all be very proud of.
The one thing, as I, have been one of the people who've been playing around in the system, I like the little personalized touches that you can create. So, for example, in membership profile, there's a space for a picture. You can put your trying to think of the right term. Like, it's not just like a cold kind of dead, like a term list of like names and addresses. It's information about the member, his picture. Doesn't have to be, it can be just a standard, yearbook style picture. But it can, for me, I put a picture of me at a scary movie convention.
So that's
what I love, right? I like the fact that there's not just a database, not the individual.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
So yeah, in the new year, when the members can begin to log in and look at their Masonic CV, they will be given the opportunity to upload a picture if they wish. This is what I would frame out of the box features that made this particular system very appealing to us.
As the system grows in terms of use, in terms of, I guess that'd be the biggest one, right? As the users grow, as the information is updated, uploaded continually, right? Where do you see yourself and the committee and Grand Lodge, say 6 months down the road? I'm assuming there will be regular check-ins with the vendor, because with everything, there's going to be bugs and challenges. So I guess what's the plan in terms of continual support, 6 months down the road, a year down the road, 10 years down the road as we go?
Absolutely. That's a great question. And some of that is yet to be fully worked out. But needless to say, the vendor offers support ongoing. It's part of what, we subscribe to from them, is their ongoing support. Internally, the help function, the self-help function will, of course, be fleshed out and grow more. The system will need an internal administrator. So there will be evolving roles within our Grand Lodge to support the system and the members. But it won't be, hey, we're gone. I personally hope to bring this to a conclusion by maybe July or August with phase 2 fully rolled out. But I believe that you, as our individual member, will always be able to reach out to a Grand Lodge representative to get support.
And the other, whenever you're talking about online back ends, anything that requires a password, a login. It's funny, an hour ago, I just had this situation pop up. Somebody tried to hack into my bank account, which got dealt with. But, one of the issues that, is no doubt going to be discussed, I'm sure it's discussed with the vendor, and, I've heard it discussed. Now, part of that is always going to fall on the secretaries, the members. Protect your password, protect your login information, be careful how you're logging into something. But from the Grand Lodge vendor side of things and that back-end administration, right, what has the security discussions been like around protecting this membership info?
Well, of course, security is one of the factors in selection. The company that we have gone with, IMAS, is a multinational organization supporting thousands of volunteer organizations across the world. And we are quite confident with their full-time security staff, their full-time cyber network people who are guarding the systems of all of their clients. We did an extensive investigation into have there been breaches or what problems, and we could not find anything of significance. Some of that security does fall back on us, and I think you made a good point. We shouldn't share passwords, logins, and emails. As we flesh this out, Brother Secretary, you're going to have a personal email, not a lodge email, because we authenticate a person, not a shared email address or one that gets passed around as secretaries change. So we do take security of our information very seriously, and the privacy thereof. Grand Lodge and the lodges we want to protect. And I personally believe by bringing the lodge holdings into a secure, managed system, we actually improve the security as opposed to having a spreadsheet on somebody's computer and those type of things. Not that there's ever been a problem, but I think that it's a step where, okay, all of that data is in a secure, password protected, monitored system 24 hours a day that has robust and up-to-date security. Make sense?
It does. And, we talked offline. I've got the email. You said you're at about 50% right now of all the secretaries. That's good, but not good enough. We want every secretary to be taking part in this. How does a lodge secretary sign up for the training if they haven't done so yet? If for whatever reason they don't get around to it, who do they contact to maybe set some time aside personally to go through things? How can we make sure that we get that number as close to 100% as we can?
Great question. Great point. Please understand that we always have about 25 lodges that are late submitting their semi-annual returns. So in this process, if I'm 50 late, I'm going to say it's a success. But if the lodge secretary has not received the email with the instructions, reach out to me personally, Richard W. Kaufman at outlook.com. We've put notices on all of our social media. Anyone listening that their lodge secretary hasn't received the information, reach out, Richard W. Kaufman at outlook.com, and we will directly go to them. So yes, there's still training up to the 20th. Okay. Final invoices, whether you did this or not, will be issued on the 22nd of December. Okay. Your lodge is going to get whatever they get with what's in the database now. And I can say that's a little unfortunate because I'm going to say about 90% of the lodges are removing members, and about 75% of the lodges are adding or restoring members. So if you go through this little bit of pain right now, and I call it pain because some find it that way, You're going to balance the books, you're going to pay the right amount, and moving forward into 2023, your workload is significantly reduced. We're offering a bulk upload of all your members' information into the system just by putting it in the spreadsheet. Come January, I'm not so sure I'm going to be as friendly about doing a bulk upload if you didn't make contact with me, right? And you'll have to go through and put the information in. So please get it right on for the sake of your lodge and for Grand Lodge. Sign up, do this little bit of work. I had one secretary tell me it took him 7 minutes, but he's kind of a guru with Excel. I had another secretary say it only took me 3 hours, but it's done now. I will never have to do this again. And I think that's an important point to make, Cameron. This exercise, this filling in this spreadsheet is a one-time effort. Moving forward, you make entries as they happen. Somebody gets initiated, you key in the application, you get your clearance online. You put them through the process and you enter them into the lodge. They're now on your roster. We'll pick up the billing. It's all automated in the background. Somebody gets a fellowcraft degree tonight. Go home, open your computer and enter the date. Oh, I'm sorry, Brother Johansson died. Go home, open your computer, set his status to deceased and add the date. You're done. My goodness. When I was a lodge secretary at semi-annual return, I was going through minutes. What did we do this night? What did we do that night? Oh, I got to make sure that goes on the return. Those days are over. Just walk this path with us. December 22nd, every lodge will receive their invoice, updated or not. Payment is required according to the Constitution by January the 8th. And you will have e-transfer instructions with your invoice. Another step forward for our Grand Lodge. You don't have to send a check. You can do it on e-transfer. So there's lots of good reasons to do this. And if a secretary needs help, they can reach out to us. They can reach out to the members of their lodge. I just got off the phone this morning with a master who is supporting his lodge and secretary by doing this work. And it was not overwhelming for them. They had 3 new initiates and 3 members changed their status. They filled in the information they had about name, address, and phone number, and he's done. It's that straightforward. So please, I put in my notes, please sign up, Brother Secretary. You will get all the support you need to get this job done.
And I've said on this podcast before, different Grand Lodges excel or are excelling in different things when it comes to, for example, social media engagement, involvement. I think California and UGLE are a great place to look when it comes to events. I think Texas is a great place to look. But when it comes to a lodge management system, and I like how you discussed earlier, right? This is not a membership management system. This is a lodge management system. When it comes to lodge management, when it comes to creating a friendly back-end system and on automating that system, I really think the Grand Lodge of Canada, the Province of Ontario, I think our Grand Lodge is a leader in that. Based on it, it's a wonderful system, and I know other grand jurisdictions have worked on similar projects, but from the limited what I've seen, this has to be one of the best ones I've seen. It's really well done, and I think that to other Grand Lodges out there, I don't want to give you extra work, but if you're looking at something similar, take a look at what Ontario's done, because it's terrific, and I think it deserves a lot of credit. And I'm looking forward to other members who aren't secretaries, in the new year, getting the chance to see this and play around with this, because it's a great, not only the back end, which is wonderful, but the front end as well. It's all the public facing side of it is terrific as well. So other Grand Lodges out there, take a look at what Ontario's done in this space, because it's terrific.
Well, thank you for that, Cameron. And I wholeheartedly agree. Biased, but I do agree.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to come and speak to me. Everybody listening, if you can hear waves in the background, that's because I'm currently in Mexico, did some Masonic stuff down here, and then I'm going to Winnipeg in 2 days. So it's very, very, very different from where I am now to where I'll be. I'm not looking forward to the snow. But thank you for joining me by Zoom. And again, to yourself, to Brother Petal, to Grand Lodge, it's 30 months of work. It's not done yet. And thank you for all the work that you've done, and will continue to do, and for all the support. It's much appreciated.
Yes, it is. Thank you.